I try to traffic in hope. And if you're struggling for some hope right now, I really want you to hear this sermon very closely. And if you think you've got a bucket full of hope, I hope you listen to this sermon really closely and help splash some of that hope and help on other people. I want you to remember a name. It's an unusual name, and maybe that'll help you remember it. Manasseh. I don't know if you know the story of Manasseh. He was 12 years old when he became king over a nation. 12 years old. I can't even begin to imagine becoming the leader of a land, much less at any age, much less 12. But he did. He'd had a great role model. His father had been the king. His name was Hezekiah, a very good man who'd done some very good things that did great good for a great many people. But Hezekiah became sick and he died, and suddenly Manasseh is thrust into the kingship. I have no idea who his advisors or counsel were, but I just know the choices and decisions that wound up coming down as a result from his reign for many, many years was nothing but evil. I'm talking about evil on a whole new level, filling the temple of the living God with altars and idols to false gods. Wow. When I think about the temple courtyards being filled full of poles and altars to gods that are not gods, it kind of just makes you nauseous, doesn't it? And if that isn't enough, well, he sacrifices his own sons to these idols. The parallel account that you can read in 2 Kings chapter 21, I was working from 2 Chronicles 33, and those earlier remarks approaches it from a different angle, not so much about the way Hezekiah dealt with the true God and lived chasing after false gods, but what he did with people. There, the author of Kings says that he filled Jerusalem's corners with the blood of innocent people. It's pretty picturesque, isn't it? But nothing pretty about it. We live in a bloody, dark world, bloody and dark times. It's horrific, evil all around us all the time. You'd think that everything was working to suck all the hope right out of us. But those of us who are followers of Jesus Christ believe that Jesus is literally our living hope. And so we want to be traffickers of hope because we claim to be followers of Jesus. We want to be like him and help people live with hope, to embrace Jesus Christ, to take the living God into their life no matter what they've lived like before. Hezekiah needed God. He was living like hell. He needed the God of heaven. You would think, well, no one could reach him. God had sent many prophets to him and the people to wake everybody up, but nobody wanted to listen, including Manasseh. And so God changed the language he was using, and he chose to let Judah's enemies have their ways with her. And so Manasseh, King Manasseh, winds up being drug off in chains, bronze chains, to Babylon. Babylon at that time, not the superpower, but the superpower, Assyria's trash heap, dump ground for troublemakers. It's there in the trash heap, so to speak, that Manasseh does something he's never done before, apparently. He prays to the true and living God, and he begs for mercy. And what do you suppose God is like? How do you suppose God hears that prayer? Do you think he hears it at all? The writer of Chronicles says that God was deeply moved by Manasseh's prayer. He brings him out of Babylon. He takes him back to Jerusalem. He's restored to ruler over his people. And now Manasseh dedicates the rest of his life to reversing all that he's done before that was so evil. He can't bring his sons back from the dead that he sacrificed to false gods. And he has to live with the fact that the people that surround him choose not to believe. They are bent, hell-bent, the same way Manasseh was before. Manasseh has changed, but the people of his kingdom have not. And he's got to live the rest of his days with grit and courage, witnessing that. The next time you think you don't have the grit or the courage to go on to face the realities that you've brought to pass, I want you to remember Manasseh. The next time you think that your prayers are in vain because of who you are, I want you to remember the name Manasseh. The next time you think that you've lived for so long and so badly that God wouldn't want anything to do with you, much less give you mercy that you yearn for, I want you to remember the name Manasseh. And as you do, I pray it stirs you to do as Manasseh did. As the writer of Chronicles puts it, he humbled himself before the Lord. Humble yourself before the Lord, my friend. That's what life is about. No matter who you are, where you're at, what you've done, or what you can't undo, humble yourself before the Lord and walk with the Lord. Trust Him. Look for the mercy that He promises to give you when you seek Him and embrace Him. That's hope. Grace and peace be with us all.